Morning sunlight, streaming through the tall, arched windows of the courthouse, casts long shadows across polished wood floors. The room hums with quiet tension. Soft murmurs from the spectators ripple through the air. Though the family at the center seems frozen in time. Kody Brown sits rigid, hands folded over his suit jacket, trying to exude calm. But his eyes dart nervously toward Meri. Up until the very end, Robyn sits beside him, face pale and composed. But the tightness in her jaw belies unease beneath the surface. Across the aisle, Christine leans forward slightly, arms crossed, eyes glinting with curiosity and cautious calculation. Janelle sits wordlessly, her face unreadable, but tension in her shoulders hints at anticipation. The bailiff clears his throat. All rise. Court is now in session. Case number 4783. Brown versus Brown. The sudden formality sends a shiver through the room. Spectators stiffen, and camera crews click into focus, capturing every twitch and glance. The judge, a seasoned woman with sharp eyes, surveys the room with measured calm. She leans forward slightly, almost as if she senses the storm that is about to erupt. Meri stands, hands gripping the thick folder like a lifeline. Her knees tremble, but her voice is steady when she speaks. Your Honor, I have evidence that must be presented today. Evidence of decisions and communications kept hidden from the rest of this family. Decisions that have deeply impacted trust, finances, and the future of this household. Kody's jaw clenches, his fingers drumming anxiously against his knee. Robyn edges nearer, her hand resting lightly on his arm. The protectiveness of that gesture seems more like a shield than comfort. Christine leans into Janelle and whispers quietly, "She's really going to shake it up today. I can feel it." The clerk comes forward, slides the folder onto the judge's desk, and opens it. A tumble of photographs, emails, and handwritten notes flow across the polished wood, forming a tangible mosaic of betrayal and secrecy. The room suddenly feels constricted, suffocating beneath the weight of possible revelations. Ms. Brown, the judge says, tone measured but commanding. Please summarize the evidence for the court. Meri's throat is dry as she inhales sharply but doesn't falter. Her eyes never leave the front. Your Honor, these documents show financial transfers, personal communications, and internal decisions deliberately withheld from the other wives. These actions not only affect family dynamics, but could also have legal implications. I am here to ensure accountability. A ripple of gasps runs through the courtroom. Spectators lean forward. Murmurs of disbelief, escaping as eyes flick toward Kody. He exhales sharply, a muscle twitching in his jaw, as if trying to maintain control in the face of mounting pressure. Robyn's hand tightens over his, her knuckles whitening as her composure starts to crack. Meri lays out the first photograph, a snapshot of a financial transfer, seemingly mundane to an outsider, but the details scream deceit. Kody's eyes flick to the paper, and a subtle tension spreads across his shoulders. Robyn glances away, as if avoiding the truth reflected in that single piece of evidence. The audience senses the fragility of the carefully maintained facade. Christine leans back, smirking faintly, a glint of satisfaction in her eyes. Janelle watches silently, calculating, as if every movement and expression of the others is part of a puzzle she's trying to solve. The judge's eyes narrow slightly. He realizes that this afternoon's testimony could define the course of this family forever. Meri introduces a second set of documents, revealing emails that demonstrate clandestine communications and decisions made without the other wives' knowledge. The papers fall like blows in the quiet courtroom. Kody fidgets in his chair. A slight, barely audible sigh escapes his lips, exposing nervousness he's trying to conceal. Robyn leans forward, her voice modulated, defensive. Laced with doubt. This is not an accurate representation of events. You're taking things out of context. Meri's voice grows firmer, confident, yet her vulnerability remains palpable. The context is exactly what is being questioned, Robyn. These are facts, not interpretations. And the court deserves to see them in their entirety. The atmosphere in the courtroom is electric. Every movement, every flicker of emotion is caught on camera. Spectators lean forward, holding their collective breath. Even the judge seems momentarily to be torn between curiosity and caution. But the third set of evidence is the most damning. Handwritten notes from Kody to Robyn, discussing decisions that should have been shared with all wives, yet were deliberately withheld. The tension is almost unbearable. Kody's fingers clutch his chair arms. Robyn's lips slightly quiver. Her eyes dart to him for reassurance, which he struggles to provide. The silent tension feels almost tangible. Christine whispers to herself, finally, the truth. Janelle's hands are calmly placed upon her lap as her mind calculates the aftermath. The court reporter furiously types, trying to keep up with the escalating drama. Each word, every revelation, tightens the invisible thread of suspense in the room. The judge bends forward, her voice cutting through the tension. This is serious, Miss Brown. Are you prepared for the repercussions of presenting these documents? Meri swallows hard, and her chest rises with a deep breath. I am, Your Honor. The truth must come out. It's time this family faces the reality of what has been done behind closed doors. In that instant, the air shifts. A quiet buzzing of a phone occurs in the back of the room. Eyes turn in the direction of the origin. The spectators whisper to one another, as everyone awaits what happens next. Meri pauses, looks toward the back, feeling this little interruption could be carrying more weight than anyone thinks. The judge's eyes narrow. Continue, Miss Brown. Meri opens another envelope, revealing emails that suggest not just secrecy, but deliberate manipulation. Kody's attempts to control outcomes without input from the other wives. Each word, each sentence in the emails carries a sting. A carefully orchestrated betrayal. Kody's eyes go hard, as a flash of anger, and fear crosses his face.
Robyn looks over at him, the uncertainty, the guilt flickering across her face. Christine leans forward now, eyes narrowed, lips pressed into a thin line. Janelle doesn't lose her composed facade, but her jaw tightens slightly, signaling anticipation and readiness to act at the appropriate time. Meri's voice quivers slightly as she presents a final photograph showing a transaction and a note that confirms Kody's involvement in decisions previously denied to the family. The courtroom seemed to exhale collectively, tension peaking. The judge frowned, a deep crease forming between her brows. This is significant, she murmurs to herself, yet loudly enough for others to catch. Meri slams the folder shut, her eyes locking onto Kody. This is just the beginning. More will be revealed, and I won't stop until it's visible to everyone. The courtroom collectively holds its breath. Kody shifts, uncomfortable, and Robyn's hand tightens on his arm. Christine exhales slowly, a small satisfied smile tugging at her lips. Janelle's eyes remain calm, but her mind races with possibilities. The tension is electric, every spectator sensing the storm about to break. And then, without warning, the bailiff says, We'll adjourn briefly until we have more testimony. The room fills with whispers and murmurs. All rise, but no one moves, as if frozen in anticipation of what comes next. And in that tense pause, a quiet phone buzzes again from the back row. Eyes dart toward it. The message is brief, but its contents, seen only by one person, have the power to change the trajectory of the trial entirely. The courtroom reconvenes after the brief recess, the air still heavy with tension. Every seat seems charged, every whispered speculation magnified by the gravity of the evidence already presented. Meri walks back to the front, her posture steady, though a tremor of anticipation runs through her. She walks with the resolve of one who knows that what is to come may rewrite the family's story entirely. Kody sits rigidly, adjusting his tie, but his hands betray him. His fingers, slightly trembling, tapping an irregular rhythm on his knee. Robyn's face is pale, her lips pressed tightly together, and the tension radiates from her like heat from a furnace. As Meri starts to speak, she takes a moment to scan the attention in the courtroom. "Your Honor, there is a matter that has come forward, one that directly involves Robyn and Kody." Her calm, steely voice cuts through the low hum of whispers. This evidence was not among the initial documents, but it bears major impact. The judge leans forward slightly, her eyes glinting with curiosity. "Ms. Brown, please proceed." Meri carefully slides a small envelope across the desk. Inside, photos and a printed message from Robyn to Kody, time-stamped months in the past. Emails and texts of actions done behind closed doors, decisions manipulated, alliances formed, and secrets deliberately withheld from the other wives. The courtroom gasps collectively, and even the spectators who have followed the family for years are visibly taken aback. Kody's fingers tighten on his chair. His jaw is a tight line, and a shadow of panic crosses his eyes. Robyn cuts a sideways glance at him, plainly caught between steeled resistance and crumbling under the barrage of accusations. The slight quiver in her hands tells a different story from the mask of calm she has kept in place for so long. Christine leans back slightly, crossing her arms, savoring every moment. In a low whisper, she says to Janelle, "This is much bigger than I thought, and just the kind of leverage we need." Janelle nods subtly, but her eyes never leave the unfolding drama, her gaze calculating and measured. Meri opens the envelope and reads aloud a particularly striking message. "I handled it. No one needs to know. Everything will stay as we agreed." Her voice breaks for just a second, heavy with the weight of truth, before firming up. The words hang in the air, heavy and undeniable. The courtroom falls silent. Kody shifts in his seat, a flicker of fear passing across his eyes. Robyn lowers her gaze, swallowing hard, while the other wives exchange looks, mixtures of disbelief, hurt, and silent calculation. "Robyn, you may respond," he says, his voice deliberate. "Please address the court." Robyn rises slowly, her voice measured but tinged with anxiety. "Your Honor, those messages do not reflect the full context. Kody and I were trying to manage, protect the family from conflict. Nothing was meant to hurt anyone." Their eyes flick briefly to Meri, who meets her gaze unflinchingly. The courtroom watches, rapt. Meri's response comes in a quiet, firm tone. "Protect the family? By hiding truths and making decisions unilaterally? That is the betrayal this court needs to understand." There was an edge of sorrow and frustration in her voice that resonated with everyone in the room. The tension between Robyn and Meri intensifies. The camera captures every slight movement, how Robyn's hand shakes slightly while she clings to her notes, the quick, controlled exhale of Kody as he tries to maintain composure. Christine's barely perceptible smirk, and Janelle's eyes scanning, calculating, and anticipating the next move. Meri continues presenting emails and notes that show financial decisions and personal arrangements made without full disclosure. With each piece, the story of hidden agendas and veiled intentions unfolds. Kody's composure cracks further with every revelation. Robyn's previously unwavering calm starts to falter, a flash of guilt crossing her features. The quiet descends upon the onlookers, and the tension becomes palpable. Some lean forward in their seats, whispering to neighbors. Others hold their breath. The weight of what is unfolding, the betrayal, the secrets, the emotional turmoil, has everyone hooked. Flashbacks of private conversations between Robyn and Kody are woven into Meri's narrative. In such moments, Robyn's motives become increasingly clear. The need to control outcomes, a fear of conflict, and loyalty toward Kody, often at the expense of honesty. With every flashback, a little more of the puzzle unfolds, adding suspense and leading to an emotionally deeper scene in the courtroom. Christine leans forward, whispering under her breath to Janelle. She's revealing too much for them to spin out. The cracks are showing. Janelle nods once, eyes narrowed, fully aware of the leverage that lies in these exposed vulnerabilities. The judge interrupts briefly. Miss Brown, focus on one piece of evidence at this time. The court requires clarity, not speculation. Meri nods, going on to carefully choose the next set of documents, a series of financial transfers, potentially indicative of deliberate concealing of funds from other family members. Kody shifts uncomfortably, and Robyn looks over at him, her tension coiling like a spring. The courtroom watches every micro-expression, every subtle motion. The atmosphere becomes electric. Whispers ripple through the room. Cameras capturing every glance, and the judge's eyes narrow, signaling the seriousness of that which is being presented. Meri presents her evidence with precision. Each revelation lands like a calculated strike, exposing the cracks in the family's carefully maintained facade. Robyn tries to interject, her voice shaking. Your Honor, it's not as it seems. There are reasons behind these actions. Meri cuts in softly, almost sorrowfully. The court deserves to know the reasons, Robyn. But it was actions taken in secret that led to today's courtroom confrontation. Kody finally leans forward, his voice low and defensive. We were trying to keep peace. We weren't trying to hurt anyone. Meri's eyes meet his, unflinching. Peace built on lies is no peace at all. The courtroom is silent once more, every word hanging in the air like a weight. Even the spectators feel the tension weighing down on them, trapped in the room with the family, bearing witness to the unfolding drama. A sudden phone buzzes from the back of the courtroom, drawing everyone's eyes. It's another message, this one showing a hidden alliance that further complicates the situation. Onlookers murmur, leaning forward to catch every detail. The air in the courtroom was thick with tension, pending the next spark that would unleash the full storm of events there. Meri stops, setting the envelope carefully on the desk in front of the judge. There is more, Your Honor. Evidence of hidden communications that show alliances formed in secret. Alliances that have affected decisions for this family for months. The judge raises her eyebrows, her voice steady, though firm. Miss Brown, proceed, but be concise. Meri nods and lays the documents out carefully. The emails, the notes, the financial details. They all paint a picture of secret collusion that visibly shakes Kody. Robyn's eyes are darting nervously around the room, her earlier composure almost completely gone. Christine leans back slightly, smiling faintly, her confidence growing as she sees the narrative unravel. Janelle remains calm, observing every interaction and mentally cataloging the revelations for the next move. The tension culminates. In a steady, deliberate tone, Meri reads aloud the final messages. Promises made, agreements kept secret, manipulations disguised as protection. The only sounds in the room are the quiet rustle of papers and a low hum of anticipation. Meri closes the envelope with a decisive snap. She looks directly at the judge. This concludes the evidence for now, Your Honor. But it is only the beginning of understanding the true scope of what has occurred in this family. The silence hangs in the courtroom. The tension is almost unbearable. Kody exhales abruptly, obviously fighting for composure. Robyn's hand quivers slightly as it clutches her notes. Christine's lips curve into a faint, knowing smile. Janelle's calm exterior masks the storm of calculations running through her head. The judge leans back, his eyes sharp and introspective. This is big. The court is going to take a short recess before the next testimony. Let me warn the family members present that the evidence to follow will have major consequences. Meri takes a deep breath, her heart pounds, but in her mind, her voice is steady. She realizes the worst part is yet to come, but the first major wave of revelations has set the stage. The secrets are unraveling, the alliances are shifting, and the Brown family will never be the same. The courtroom is reconvened after recess, but the air is almost electric, like even the walls are holding their breath. The spectators murmur in anticipation as the tension is thick enough to taste. Kody Brown sits stiffly, his anxiety coiled tightly inside him. Robyn, beside him, is pale, her eyes darting nervously toward the gallery, her composed veneer fraying at its edges. Christine leans forward, arms crossed, a subtle smirk tugging at her lips, while Janelle is seated calmly, eyes sharp, observing, calculating every shift in the room. The judge's voice cuts through the murmurs. We will now proceed with the next phase of testimony. Ms. Brown, you may continue. Meri stands tall, her hands steady, while her heart is a vortex of feelings. Your Honor, the evidence I've presented earlier is but half the story. What I am going to reveal now will show the full depth of this betrayal and manipulation. Her voice is laced with sadness, anger, and determination in equal measure. The courtroom leans in, and the silence amplifies each word. She reaches into her folder and pulls out a series of emails and messages exchanged between Kody and Robyn over the past year. The documents reveal a pattern of decision-making done in secret, plans about finances, household arrangements, and family decisions kept hidden from Christine, Janelle, and herself. Every paper she presents lands like a hammer, punctuating the already tense atmosphere. Kody shifts uncomfortably, his jaw tightening, and Robyn swallows hard, her knuckles white as she clutches the edge of the bench. Even the spectators, familiar with the Brown family drama, gasp audibly at the sheer scale of secrecy and manipulation laid bare. Christine leans in slightly toward Janelle and whispers, "It's happening exactly like I thought." They can't hide anything now. Janelle nods subtly, eyes fixed on the reactions of Kody and Robyn. The quiet intensity of the two women observing is in harsh contrast to the chaos erupting in the defendant's corner. Meri's voice rises slightly as she reads aloud a particularly damning email. I handled it. No one needs to know. Everything will stay as we agreed. The words reverberate in the courtroom, heavy with implication. Kody's fingers dig into his chair, and Robyn's gaze drops, avoiding the eyes of the other wives. The room seems to shrink beneath the weight of the revelation. The judge's eyes narrow, voice firm. "Robyn, Kody, would you like to respond to this?" Robyn gets up slowly, her voice controlled, but laced with emotion. "Your Honor, the messages do not fully reflect my intentions. Kody and I were trying to avoid conflict. We weren't trying to deceive anyone." Meri steps forward, her gaze unwavering. "Prevent conflict?" "By hiding truths from the other wives, by manipulating outcomes for your own benefit. That is the betrayal this court must see clearly." Her voice breaks with emotion, a slight crack that lends weight to her words. The courtroom watches every micro-expression. Kody exhales sharply, trying to regain composure. The tension in his shoulders betrays him. Robyn's hand trembles as she clutches her notes, the carefully maintained mask of calm starting to crumble. Christine leans back in her chair, her lips pursed, her eyes glinting with a mix of satisfaction and strategy. Janelle sits composed, her mind racing with the calculation of potential fallout from every revelation. Camera crews capture every nuance, Kody's fingers twitching, Robyn's lips pressed together in a tight line, Christine's subtle smirk, and Janelle's steady, piercing gaze. Meri continues, producing emails and notes that indicate deliberate concealment of funds and unilateral decision-making. Layer by layer, the evidence mounts, building a damning narrative of secrecy and manipulation. The audience can feel the tension building tightly around them, pulled into the emotional storm enveloping the Brown family. Kody finally rises, voice low and defensive. "We were trying to protect the family. Everything we did was to maintain stability." Meri's eyes bore into him. Stability built on lies is not stability at all. The court needs to see the truth. The judge raises an eyebrow, impressed by the clarity and gravity of the evidence shown thus far. "Ms. Brown, please continue. Be concise." Meri slides another envelope forward. Inside are documents showing private conversations between Kody and Robyn regarding personal matters kept secret from the other wives. The content shows intentional manipulation, decisions orchestrated to favor certain outcomes, often at the expense of other family members. The courtroom erupts in an audible stir. Whispers spread throughout the audience as each new revelation lands. Robyn gets up again, her voice trembling. "It wasn't meant to hurt anyone. We were trying to manage." Meri cuts in, softly but firmly. "Management without transparency is deception, Robyn. And it has consequences." The room is silent. The tension is as tight as a coiled spring about to burst. Even the onlookers seem to feel the depth of emotions, as if the family drama was spilling from the screen onto the room itself. The sudden buzz of a phone from the back captures everyone's attention. Another message, this one not seen by the court, suggests an even deeper betrayal. Onlookers lean forward, murmuring to each other, and the tension rises higher. Members of the family glance at each other with growing nervousness, knowing this recent turn could change everything. Meri reveals the next sheet of evidence, a photo showing a financial transaction related to decisions Kody stated were group decisions but had been made secretly. The tension visibly accelerates. Kody's face tightens, the veins in his forehead prominent. Robyn starts breathing harder, her hand shaking as she clings to the edge of the bench. Christine leans forward, a whisper escaping her lips. It's all unraveling. They have no defense now. Janelle remains poised, calm, eyes tracking every reaction, her mind a chessboard of possibilities. Meri's tone is steadfast, almost demanding to the courtroom audience. The court deserves to see the truth in all its detail. Secrets kept from family members have real consequences,
and it is my responsibility to ensure they are exposed. The judge leans back, eyes piercing. This is serious. Kody Robyn, you will be held accountable for what has been revealed here today. Kody exhaled hard, the fight going right out of him. Robyn looks down, her lips pressed together, her eyes welling up as the weight of exposure hits her. The camera captures the emotional toll in stark detail. The audience, hooked, leans forward, en masse, feeling the tension and anticipation for the next dramatic turn. Meri then releases one final, damning email, showing not concealment, but deliberate manipulation of trust and decision-making. The words remain in the courtroom air. I handled it, alone. No one needed to know. The simple line has the full weight of betrayal. The judge pauses, eyes narrowing. This is deeply troubling. We will recess briefly, but be aware that the revelations today have far-reaching implications. Meri snaps her folder shut, her eyes locking onto Kody and Robyn. This is merely the beginning. The truth will keep coming, and it will change everything for this family. Whispers fill the air as the courtroom empties for the recess. Spectators speculate, their heads shaking from side to side, while others bend forward in anticipation. Kody says under his breath, "We need to fix this. Quickly." Robyn shakes her head slightly, her usual confident demeanor clouded by a tinge of uncertainty. Christine smirks faintly, satisfied the cracks are finally visible. Janelle is unruffled, eyes contemplative, measuring chaos with cool detachment. The scene ends with another subtle twist. A note slips onto the judge's desk, delivered anonymously. The content of this note promises to reveal a betrayal even deeper than what has already been exposed. Everyone in the courtroom notices the exchange, and the air is thick with suspense. The courtroom reconvenes, but the atmosphere in the court is now heavier, charged with anger, sorrow, and anticipation. The revelations that came earlier have already shaken the family to its core. Now, the repercussions start to materialize. Kody Brown sits erect in his chair, fingers tightly interlaced, his jaw clenched in an effort to conceal the turmoil brewing inside. Robyn sits beside him, pale and rigid, her composure, hitherto well guarded, now visibly breaking. Christine leans forward, her eyes sharp and calculating, the corners of her lips tugged upward in a faint smirk of satisfaction. Janelle sits calmly, stoic, but her mind races as she observes the reactions of everyone in the room. The judge, feeling the emotional temperature in the room suddenly spike, clears her throat. Now we will continue with testimonies regarding the impact these revelations have had on family dynamics and financial matters. Miss Brown, you may proceed. Meri rises, clutching her folder, her posture resolute. Her voice carries the weight of everything that has been revealed so far. Your Honor, the evidence presented has indicated that some decisions were taken unilaterally, and certain financial transactions were not disclosed to other family members. The effect on trust, relationships, and overall stability of the family cannot be overemphasized. Kody fidgets, his eyes darting between Meri and the judge. Robyn's hands shake slightly as she clenches them in her lap. Christine leans back, a small smirk playing on her lips as she obviously enjoys the discomfort in the other corner of the courtroom. Janelle's eyes are steady, almost calculating, but there is an unmistakable glint of anticipation in her eyes. Meri now places the next set of evidence before them: bank statements, receipts of transactions, and summaries of accounts that indicate funds were transferred without some wives knowing. Each page falls like a hammer, driving home the tension in the room. Kody's face clenches with each page, and Robyn looks around the room for reassurance that isn't there.
The judge looks at the documents intently, narrowing her eyes. This is big. Kody Robyn, you're going to have to explain these. Kody exhales hard, attempting to compose himself. We were handling the family finances as we saw fit, trying to make sure everyone was stable, he says, voice tight but defensive. Meri narrows her eyes slightly, her tone calm but firm. Stability cannot be built on secrecy and manipulation. Transparency is required in the court, as it is in the family. The courtroom becomes tense. Finally, Robyn speaks, her voice shaking. It wasn't meant to hurt anyone. We thought we were protecting the family from conflict. Meri responds softly, but with conviction. Protecting the family by hiding the truth is not protection. It's betrayal. Christine leans in a little, speaking low to Janelle. The cracks are getting bigger. They can't spin this. Janelle nods subtly, her eyes scanning every reaction and noticing how Kody and Robyn grow increasingly uncomfortable. Meri then introduces emails with private agreements between Kody and Robyn that directly affected the family's decisions about financial resources. Each word further outlines a picture of manipulation and intentional concealment. There is an audible gasp in the courtroom, awaiting the weight of the revelations. Kody's hands tightly grip the chair, whitening his knuckles. Robyn's lips begin to tremble as guilt flashes across her face. The tension in the room increases as Meri starts to read from passages that indicate some of the financial moves were made without consulting or even asking their consents from other wives. These were not just private personal decisions. They changed the future course of the family's history, Meri states. Her voice, even as emotion rises in the room. The judge leans forward, frowning. Ms. Brown, please continue. The court needs clarity on the full scope of these actions. Meri carefully slides another envelope forward. Inside are notes, agreements, and confirmations of secret transfers and arrangements. The court observes in stunned silence, with tension so thick it can almost be touched. Kody shifts, his every movement etched in unease, while Robyn's hand trembles as she adjusts her notes. Christine's lips curve into a faint, satisfied smile. Janelle keeps her composed exterior and analyzes the nuance of every situation for the strategic advantage it offers. Meri inhales deeply, her voice still shaking with emotion. These documents reveal that trust has been violated repeatedly. Decisions that ought to have been shared among all family members were made in secret, often benefiting only one or two. Her gaze sweeps across Kody and Robyn, and the consequences of these decisions are now undeniable. The courtroom holds its collective breath. Even the spectators feel the weight of the unfolding drama, the emotional betrayal, the secrecy, and looming consequences of the exposed financial manipulation. Kody finally stands up, his voice low and defensive. We were trying to protect the family. It was never about deception. Meri's eyes never leave his. Protection built on lies is not protection, it's betrayal. And the court and this family deserves the truth. Robyn's voice trembles as she interrupts. We never meant to harm them. We just wanted peace. Meri's voice is quiet, yet firm. Peace does not exist when it is based on secrets. Everything done in secret has finally been revealed, and the result is huge. The judge looks closely at everyone. Today's revelation about financial misdealings, as well as secret deals, is serious. Kody, Robyn, you will have to justify such actions before this court. Kody exhales, his composure wavering. Robyn bites her lip, She looks once to him for support, but it is too overwhelming for either. The courtroom seems suspended in time, with the emotional stakes so palpably high. Meri then reveals one final piece of evidence, a ledger of a very complex web of transfers and arrangements that implicate a series of decisions kept secret from the other wives. With every page revealed, the depth of deception and the level of trust broken grow. Spectators whisper, several leaning forward in disbelieving stares, some silently staring in utter captivation of the unfolding drama. Christine whispers in soft tones to Janelle, "It's unraveling faster than I imagined." Janelle nods subtly, watching the reaction of Kody and Robyn, calculating how far this will ripple through the rest of the trial. The tension reaches a fever pitch as Meri reads out loud from a note directly from Kody to Robyn. "Handle it quietly. No one must know. Everything stays between us." The words are short, but the implications are explosive. Kody's face tightens even further, veins bulging on his forehead. Robyn is glassy-eyed with unshed tears. Even the judge's brow furrows slightly at the audacity of the revelation. The courtroom holds its collective breath as the judge leans forward. This level of secrecy and deception is serious. The court will take a short recess, but understand that these revelations will have far-reaching consequences. Meri closes the folder with care and takes a moment to let the weight of the evidence sink in. Her gaze sweeps around the room, resting first on Kody and Robyn, then on Christine and Janelle, and finally on the judge. It's silent in the courtroom. The gravity of the moment has taken over. With the family's departure for recess, ripples of whispers run through the onlookers. Kody speaks under his breath. "We need to fix this, quickly." Robyn slightly shakes her head, her features clouded with doubt. Christine smirks softly, satisfied that the cracks in Kody and Robyn's facade finally show. Janelle remains calm, considering the opportunities this fallout offers. Tension simmers in the hallway outside. Cold glances are exchanged, and murmurs of anger and betrayal are barely contained. A quiet buzzing emanates from a lawyer's briefcase, an anonymous message promising to unseal yet one more secret, one that may bring complete devastation upon the Brown family. The courtroom seems to be almost unbearably full now, the air thick with anticipation, tension, and the weight of truths finally coming to light. Every seat was taken, every camera directed, every pair of eyes intent on the Brown family. Kody sits rigid in his chair, fingers interlocked, jaw tight, and every single muscle taut, as if bracing for impact. Robyn sits beside him, pale and nervous, eyes flicking between Kody, Meri, and the judge, trying to be strong, but failing as her internal conflict becomes palpable. Christine is leaning forward, a faint smirk on her lips, her eyes bright with equal amounts of vindication and anticipation. Janelle, always composed, sits silently, watching every nuance, analyzing, calculating, anticipating every reaction and consequence. The judge clears her throat, the authority in her voice immediately silencing the murmurs of the crowd. "We are ready to proceed with the final testimony and evidence in this matter. Miss Brown, please continue." Meri gets up, folder in hand, her posture resolute, her voice not showing even a shade of the turmoil that roils inside her. "Your Honor, what I'm going to present before the court is the result of months of secrecy, manipulation, and betrayal in this very family. The truth has to come out, and accountability has to be made." Kody exhales abruptly, his eyes belying the anxiety growing inside him. Robyn fidgets a little, her hands shaking as she holds onto the edge of the bench, the carefully maintained mask of confidence slipping. Christine leans back in her chair, lips pursed into a thin line, reveling in the tension she knows is about to blow any minute. Janelle remains calm, her eyes holding every reaction, silently cataloging every detail for possible leverage. Meri revisits the critical evidence from previous sessions, the emails, messages, and financial documents exposing unilateral decision-making, secret financial transfers, and hidden communications between Kody and Robyn. The audible reactions circulate through the courtroom, whispers of all kinds spreading like wildfire as the weight of implication settles in. Meri then reveals the last set of documents, the most damning to date. Evidence that not only confirms previous betrayals, but also implicates Kody and Robyn in secret alliances that directly impact the family's finances and emotional stability. The photos, emails, and notes are laid out methodically on the judge's desk, each one a part of a puzzle exposing the true depth of manipulation. Kody fidgets in his chair, a vein popping on the side of his head. His fingers dance nervously on the armrest. Robyn's eyes flick to him, searching for security, but doesn't find any. The tension between them is palpable, an almost visible strain radiating outward, infecting the room with unease. The judge is deep in the documents, her sharp eyes scanning every line, noting the patterns of secrecy, deception, and unilateral control. Kody, Robyn, the court needs your explanation regarding these actions. Please respond. Kody rises slowly, his voice low and defensive. We were trying to protect the family, to maintain peace. Nothing was intended to hurt anybody. Meri steps forward, her voice firm, unwavering. Protection cannot come at the cost of deception. Decisions made in secret, manipulations disguised as peacekeeping, and alliances formed without transparency are betrayals. The family and the court deserve the truth. The tension spikes as Robyn finally speaks, her voice trembling. It was never meant to hurt anyone. We were trying to manage conflict, to preserve stability. Meri's eyes bore into hers. Stability built on a foundation of lies is not stability. Every secret kept, every decision made without transparency, it all has consequences. Christine bends forward slightly, speaking in a whisper to Janelle. It's unraveling completely. They have no defense now. Janelle nods subtly, eyes still focused, taking in every detail for the next strategic move. Meri unveils one final piece of evidence, a message between Kody and Robyn, discussing decisions that directly affected the other wives, including controlling financial resources and personal arrangements. The courtroom audibly gasps. Kody's face tightens further, veins prominent on his forehead. Robyn's hands shake as she grips the edge of her notes, eyes glistening with unshed tears. The judge leans forward, voice deliberate. This evidence is serious. Kody, Robyn, you must account for your actions in this court. The consequences will be significant. Kody exhales sharply, his shoulders tensing as he tries to compose himself. Robyn looks down, her lips pressed together, her internal struggle for all to see. Christine leans back with a faint, satisfied smile tugging on her lips.
Janelle says nothing, her eyes reflecting sharp calculation. Meri took a step nearer to the judge, her tone unyielding, but laced with emotion. Your Honor, the court needs to see the complete truth. The family will view reality as it is, and the sentence needs to be an accountable, just, and transparent representation. The courtroom hushes. Every spectator in the courtroom leans forward, some whispering, some holding their breath. all captivated by the unfolding drama. The camera captures every micro-expression: Kody's tightening jaw, Robyn's quivering lips, Christine's small knowing smirk, and Janelle's calm, analytical gaze. Meri took a deep breath as she flipped through the final documents. The culmination of these revelations shows not only deception, but a premeditated pattern of secrecy and manipulation that has fractured the trust of this family. The impact is undeniable, and the court must recognize the gravity of these actions. Kody finally stands, raising his voice in desperation. "We were trying to do what was best for the family. Everything we did was to keep peace." Meri takes another step closer, locking eyes with him. "Peace without honesty is not peace. It's control in disguise as care. The family has a right to the truth, and the truth has just been revealed." Robyn's voice trembles as she finally says, We made mistakes. We didn't mean for this to go this far." Tears glisten in her eyes, and the courtroom is enthralled with this now vulnerable presentation. The judge folds her hands, gaze piercing. The court has heard all evidence and testimony. The family dynamics, betrayals, and secrecy exposed here today are serious and will be considered in the court's decision. Kody, Robyn, you must now face the repercussions of your actions. Meri slams her folder shut and looks around the room. This is just the beginning. The truth has been revealed, but it will now be up to this family to deal with the repercussions, to work to regain trust, and to come to terms with the decisions made behind closed doors. The courtroom is tense, silent except for the rustling of papers and a low hum of anticipation. Kody exhales sharply, his shoulders sagging as the weight of exposure hits him full on. Robyn's hands are trembling, and tears glaze over her eyes. Christine leans back, her eyes satisfied, but Janelle continues with her calm, contemplative demeanor, knowing full well the storm that has been unleashed. The courtroom is adjourned, and the family is descended upon by spectators and media to capture each of their emotional reactions. Outside the courtroom, the Brown family walks in silence, the weight of truth settling in their chests like a stone. The scene outside the courthouse remains tense. Kody grumbles under his breath. "We gotta make this right before it's too late." Robyn shakes her head, clouding her normally confident demeanor with uncertainty. Christine can barely stifle a smirk, satisfied that the cracks in Kody and Robyn's facade are finally entirely out in the open. Janelle is quiet, reflective. Her mind has already moved on to next steps. The scene closes on a real cliffhanger. The judge finds an anonymous note, promising to disclose a deeper betrayal than that which has so far been revealed. Every character, along with the audience, is left on edge. What is this hidden betrayal, and how will it affect the family's future?